A blade that cuts through bone like butter, a dagger that ends a prophecy written in fire, a crown forged in magic, and a scream that echoes through old Valyria long after the flames are gone. This is the story of Valyrian steel, how it was made, why it was lost, and the legacy it carved across Westeros. It starts with fire, real fire, dragonfire. Valyrian steel was made in the Valyrian Freehold, an empire of dragons, blood, and dark magic. The smiths weren't just craftsmen. They were sorcerers. Their blades weren't just sharp, they were alive. Forging them took time, heat, spells, and sacrifice. One maester who studied Qohor's smiths came back without a hand. He claimed they used blood, children's blood. Whether he was right or mad doesn't matter. The blades speak for themselves. They never dull, never break. And after the Doom destroyed Valyria, the secret died with it. So now every Valyrian blade is a relic, a weapon, a story. What makes it magic? It never rusts. It's light, sharp, stronger than steel, and completely fireproof. Aegon's sword Blackfire survived a dragon flame without a scratch, but that's not what keeps people up at night. It's what Valyrian steel does to the dead. Long before Jon Snow ever touched Longclaw, ancient records spoke of a blade called dragon steel. Samwell Tarly found it buried in a tome, a sword that could kill the others, a weapon forged in fire and spell work. Later, Jon used Longclaw to kill a White Walker. The thing shattered like glass, no fanfare, no struggle, just steel slicing through winter. The blade didn't glow, it didn't hum, but it did what no other sword could. It ended something that was supposed to be eternal. And that's where the real mystery begins. Dragonglass kills White Walkers too. Obsidian, black, sharp, and fragile, it comes from fire just like Valyrian steel. And Valyria had plenty of it. Volcanoes, lava, heat everywhere. So if you were trying to make the perfect weapon to fight the cold, you'd start there. Fire, blood, magic. Dragonglass. Melt it, fold it, curse it. The result isn't just a weapon, it's a message. That even in a world of ice, something still burns. But Valyrian steel wasn't just made for war, it was made for legacy. These weren't swords, they were names. Histories. Ice was the sword of House Stark. Huge, heavy. Meant for justice, not battle. Ned used it to carry out the law, once on a deserter, once on a direwolf. Then someone else used it on him. Same steel, same blade. Just pointed the other way. After his death, Tywin Lannister had ice melted down. Sent it to a master smith. Tried to color it red, for the Lannister lion. But Valyrian steel doesn't bend easy. The dye sank in, twisted into dark red ripples. The blade had its own memory, its own story, and it wasn't done yet. One sword went to Jaime Lannister. He gave it away. To Brienne of Tarth. She named it Oathkeeper. A Stark blade reforged by a Lannister carried by a knight sworn to protect the Stark girls. It cut down monsters, Rorge, Pig. Then Brienne stood before Lady Stoneheart, Catelyn Stark dead and angry. Stoneheart called the sword Oathbreaker, told Brienne to kill Jaime, and waited. The other sword became Widow's Wail, Joffrey's wedding gift. He used it to destroy a book, called it powerful, then dropped dead at his feast. The blade passed to Tommen, then disappeared. But steel doesn't forget. Longclaw was a bastard sword for a bastard son. Forged for House Mormont, passed from Jeor to Jorah until Jorah fled in disgrace. The sword stayed. When fire melted the bear pommel, Jor had it remade. A white direwolf for Jon Snow. He gave Jon the sword, called him worthy, and Jon carried it through fire, blood, and death. But the blades didn't stop there. Heartsbane belonged to House Tarly. Huge, heavy, old. Randall planned to give it to Dickon, but Sam took it, stole it from his father's wall. Some swords aren't meant for tradition, some are meant for war. Then there was Dark Sister, forged in Valyria, passed down through the Targaryens. Queen Visenya wielded it during the conquest. Years later, Prince Daemon Targaryen carried it into the Stepstones, cut down enemies, and finally dove it into the eye of his nephew, Prince Aemond. The sword disappeared into the lake. Years later, it surfaced again. Bloodraven, Aegon's bastard son, carried it beyond the wall. He vanished. But the blade's legacy lingered. Its twin, Blackfire, was Aegon the Conqueror's blade. Darker than most, carried through fire across kingdoms. It passed from king to king until Aegon IV gave it to his bastard son Daemon, who took the sword's name, started a rebellion, and split the Targaryen dynasty in two. Bittersteel took it next. He sliced out one of Bloodraven's eyes and ran. The sword hasn't been seen since. And then, the dagger. The Catspaw Dagger started in shadows, a blade of Valyrian steel with a dragonbone hilt. It passed from Robert Baratheon to Littlefinger, from assassin to Stark, from betrayal to war. And then, years later, it killed the Night King. Arya Stark drove it into his chest. The same dagger that nearly ended her brother ended the Long Night. Some say the hilt held more than dragonbone. It held prophecy. Aegon's dream, carved into steel. A warning passed down for generations. That one day, a prince or a girl with a blade would end the darkness. But that's just half the story, because some swords vanish, some swords whisper, and some come back when they're needed most. Not every sword stays in the light. Some slip into legend. Others vanish without a trace. Brightroar was the pride of House Lannister, a massive great sword paid for with the price of an army. King Tommen II carried it into Valyria, hoping to find lost wealth and fame. He never came back. Neither did the blade. Years later, Garyon Lannister sailed after it, chasing ghosts. He vanished too. And now Brightroar is gone, buried somewhere in fire and smoke, lost to the doom like so many secrets before it. Lady Forlorn, the ancestral sword of House Corbray, didn't vanish. It fought. In the Dance of the Dragons, at the Red Grass Field, even at the Battle of the Trident. It's been passed down through the Corbray line for centuries, wielded by warriors, plotters, brothers. Sir Lyn Corbray led a charge against the Dornish with it and killed Prince Lewin Martell himself. Now it rests with him still, a sword too sharp for peace and too proud to stay silent. Some blades weren't even made for the families that now carry them. Red Rain, held by House Drum of the Iron Islands, was taken, not gifted. Likely from House Reyne, back when the world was younger and bloodier. Nightfall, another Ironborn sword, has a moonstone pommel and a long memory. It was claimed by Lord Dalton Greyjoy and passed down through House Harlaw. When the Ironborn attacked the Shield Islands, Sir Harris Harlaw used Nightfall to defeat 7 champions outside the castle gates, one by one, until the doors opened. And then there's Orphan Maker, a name soaked in violence. Wielded by bold John Roxton during the dance, it cut through men like paper, sliced Lord Footley in half, killed Hugh Hammer, and then its wielder died, just another corpse in the mud. Lord Unwin Peake claimed the sword. After that, Orphan Maker disappeared. Maybe it's waiting, maybe it's still screaming. But Valyrian steel wasn't just forged into swords. Euron Greyjoy, mad, brutal, dangerous, found a suit of Valyrian steel armor, black, scaled, inscribed with arcane symbols. He claims it came from the smoking ruins of Valyria itself. He also carries daggers and a dragon-binding horn banded in Valyrian steel. One of his crew blew the horn, then died. Whether it works? Who knows? But Euron believes it, and sometimes that's worse. In Old Town, the Citadel holds another secret. The Maesters train in reason, logic, and knowledge, but those who study the higher mysteries, the occult, the magical, earn a Valyrian steel link in their chain. That means the Citadel has it, somewhere. Enough to forge links, maybe more. The Archmaester of the higher mysteries, Marwyn the Mage, wears a mask, carries a rod, and claims to know things he shouldn't. Like how dragons came back. Like how prophecy was written in flame. And speaking of flame, House Celtigar of Claw Isle doesn't have a sword. They have an axe, one made of Valyrian steel. We know nothing about it, not who wielded it, not what it's done, just that it exists. And that might be enough. Even across the sea, Valyrian steel leaves its mark. In Lys, Moredo Rogare wielded a longsword called Truth. His 7-foot bodyguard, Sandok the Shadow, carried a curved blade with a dragonbone hilt. Centuries later, a Dothraki sellsword named Zolo used a Valyrian steel arak to cut off Jaime Lannister's hand. No prophecy, no history, just a blade and a moment. But for all its power, Valyrian steel is finite. Fewer than 250 blades are known to exist in Westeros. Most are heirlooms, a few are lost, and fewer still can be reforged. Tobomont did it once, turned ice into Oathkeeper and Widow's Wail. He used spells, heat, and something else. 100 enchantments. Even then, he couldn't change the color. Magic resists change. It remembers its origin. The Smiths of Qohor say they can rework Valyrian steel, but they guard their secrets with blood. One maester tried to learn. He asked too many questions. They cut off his hand. And still he wrote what he saw. Sacrifices, slaves, children, all bled to shape steel into something more. Maybe that's why the swords feel alive, because part of someone still is. And then there's the question no one dares to answer. Where did it come from? Not the process, the purpose. Why make a sword that kills the dead? The legends tell of the Long Night, of the last hero, of Azor Ahai, a man who forged a sword in fire, tempered it with blood, and used it to end darkness. He called it Lightbringer, a blade that burned, a blade that killed what couldn't die. Some say it's myth, others say it's prophecy. But what if it's memory? Valyrian steel doesn't burn, it doesn't break, and it kills White Walkers. Just like Lightbringer, just like the sword the last hero carried. Maybe the first Valyrian steel wasn't forged in Valyria at all. Maybe it was made in the north, in desperation, in fear, with dragonglass and sacrifice. Maybe the Valyrians didn't invent the process. Maybe they stole it. Whatever the truth, the dead don't rest, and Valyrian steel still cuts what nothing else can. But most of the blades, lost, scattered, melted, hoarded, and Winter doesn't care who owns what. Thanks for watching. Tell us which blade you'd trust when the dead start walking, and which one you think will be the last still standing. See you next time.